Ever wondered why your mix sounds like a high school garage band practice? While professional tracks sound like sonic gold. Have you spent hours tweaking your mix, but it still sounds like something's off? Well, today is your lucky day. We're diving in deep into the world of mixing, and specifically how distortion, yes, you heard it right, distortion can be your unexpected savior. First, we'll break down the most common problems with bad mixes, and then we'll dive into how distortion can be a remedy to those problems. If you're new here, welcome to Music by Maddie, where we break down the complexities of music production in a way that even your grandma can understand. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of these juicy tips. Let's get this party started, shall we? The anatomy of an amateur mix. So you've tried everything, watched countless tutorials, maybe even took a course or two, but your mixes still sound, well, amateurish. No worries, we've all been there, including yours truly. But what makes a mix sound amateur? Well, after working with hundreds of different songs, here are the biggest problems I've found in amateur mixes. Number 1. Muddy frequencies and mixes. Most sounds and instruments have a fundamental frequency below 1,000 hertz. Basically, that means they contain the most energy in the low mids. And when too many of them get together, it creates muddiness. The more instruments added at these frequencies, the muddier the problem becomes. There's a big difference between a warm mix and too warm and muddy. Problem number 2, bass problems. You've got your kick drum louder than a political debate, and your vocals are hiding like they owe someone money. That is a quick route to Amateurville, my friends. A lot of people think that turning up the bass and the kick will give them a more professional low end that they're looking for, but that just doesn't work. Humans perceive sounds based off their harmonic structure, or in other words, the frequencies above the fundamental frequencies mentioned earlier. Without these harmonics present, the bass becomes harder to hear. Many of the best mixes have bass lines and low end that extends well into the higher parts of the frequency spectrum so that we can actually hear it. Amateur mixes don't. Problem number 3, a lack of cohesion between parts. Think of your mix like a jigsaw puzzle. You've got pieces from different sets thrown into one box. Some from a Star Wars set, a few from Monet's Water Lilies, and oh look, there's a lonely Pokemon. Now, try piecing them together. Spoiler alert, it's not gonna work. A cohesive mix is like a well-fitted puzzle. Every piece complements the others, creating a harmonious picture. Remember, the goal is to make everything sound like it's part of the same sonic story. If your mix elements feel like they attended different parties last night, you're missing that critical cohesion. Next time you find your mix drifting into cacophony, stop and ask, are all these pieces from the same puzzle? Because cohesion, dear friends, can be the difference between a masterpiece and a hot mess. Problem number 4, poor source material. Imagine you're a chef, but all you've got are moldy veggies and expired milk. No matter how skilled you are, that dish is doomed. Listen, you can have the mixing chops of a Michelin-starred chef, but if your source material is the audio equivalent of a dumpster fire, you're in for a bumpy ride. Let's break down some of the most common culprits I hear. Bad recordings, low quality instruments, bad digital sounds. Your source material sets the stage for your mix. It's the foundation of your sonic skyscraper, and if that's shaky, well, then don't be surprised when things start to crumble. Now, these are a lot of problems to think about in our mix. And since today's topic is distortion, let's dive in and see how it can help solve some of these most common problems that I hear in mixes. First off, though, what is distortion? Well, imagine you have a soft, squishy toy. If you squeeze it too hard, the shape changes. In audio, distortion is like squeezing a sound wave. It changes the original sound. Sometimes it's accidental and it sounds bad, but sometimes it's done on purpose and makes a cool effect, like rock guitars. But why do our brains like distortion? Distorted sounds trigger a unique sensation in the brain, a blend of familiarity and novelty. They catch your ear and say, hey, listen to me. I'm interesting. Humans are wired to notice anomalies, and distortion offers just enough strangeness to make a sound compelling without going full-on alien abduction. So you see, Distortion isn't the unruly teenager you thought it was. It's more like that mysterious guest at the party everyone secretly finds fascinating. And in the next part, we're going to figure out how this enigmatic character can turn your amateur mixes into the life of the audio party using a real-world song example. If you're looking to up your sound production game, then you should join our brand new newsletter, 5 Beat Friday, where every Friday we deliver to you 5 short bullet points about the music production world. Those could include tips and tricks, secrets from the pros, discounts, plugins, and way more. I promise it's going to help your game, and it's going to help you sound like you've always wanted to. You can sign up using the link below. Okay, enough talk, it's showtime. Let's pull back the curtain on a real world example, because we all know proof is in the pudding. Or in our case, the mix. Okay, I've got a mix here that I've been working on and a demo for an artist I've been working with. It's got backing vocals, it's got almost everything ready, but it's missing some distortion. First, we'll listen to the before version. Now, this song is a demo, so it doesn't have lead vocals on it, but it does have everything else, backing vocals, the rest of the mix. I'm trying to get it ready before actually bringing the artist into the studio. So let's take a listen. And here's the before. Sounds okay, but not great. I wouldn't want to show this to an artist. I would like to mix it a little bit better. Now, only adding one single plugin, Distortion. Let me show you what the new product sounds like after this magical ingredient. And here's the after. Now, that sounds better, and like I said, the only effect I used was distortion. But what exactly went down here? Let's unpack it and learn how distortion affected each of our most common mixing problems. Let's start with problem number 1, muddy frequencies. Now, when we add subtle, gentle saturation and harmonic distortion, we add harmonic interest. It makes things more interesting. Take a listen to this piano and the before and after. This is with overdrive and distortion. This is without. A little bit louder, but we're not going for louder here. We're going for more interesting. If we can get the same effect a little bit lower in volume, we know we're moving in the right direction. This is going to add more harmonic interest. It's going to enhance its presence slightly, and it's going to cut through the mix even more. Take a listen to the whole mix with it before and after. I'll turn it up so you can. Without. With. You can hear it affecting it a ton. It's making it more noticeable, and it's helping fill up that higher harmonic structure. On to problem number 2, which is bass problems. Now, this is one of the biggest things I recommend using for basses, is adding subtle distortion to make your bass stick out more. It's going to thicken up your bass, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's take a listen to just our bass bus. I'm going to go into our bass bus here, and if we take a look at our basses, we have overdrive and a bass amp adding some subtle distortion. So let's turn it off. If we turn it off, we get a louder volume, but we're getting it way more focused around 100 hertz. If we take a look at our EQ, I'll show you what I mean. This is going to make our mix really muddy. Not only is it too high in volume, but it's just not exactly what we want to hear. If we were to put this on phone speakers, we're not going to be able to hear it as well as we should be able to. What we want to do is we want to take away some of those frequencies, like 100 hertz, and spread them out across a higher harmonic structure just by adding some overdrive, in this case, around 12 decibels. And we actually have an EQ afterwards with this tone knob. And then adding some more gentle saturation by using a bass amp and adding some natural gain. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like now. And you can hear that piano bass also has some overdrive on it too. Really great stuff. So now let's hear it in the context of the mix with all of those and without. This is with. Without. Overpowering, too loud, and a bit muddy. This is going to sit way better into our limiter. way more appropriate for the genre. It's gonna let the other instruments shine even louder. Moving on to problem number 3, lack of cohesion. Distortion adds harmonics to the original signal, and these harmonics can serve to glue instruments together. When done subtly, this creates a sense of unity among various elements, making them sound like they're a part of the same organic whole. Think of it as adding a filter on Instagram. Suddenly, all of the different colors and elements feel like they're under the same light. It can also be used to enhance the rhythm section like drums and bass. Let me show you exactly what I mean right now. Here's the basic drum kit. It's got some nice reverb on it, kind of vibey for sure. Now let's listen to it without overdrive. Really high dynamic peaks there, some bigger transients. But when we add that overdrive, we start to get a little bit of snappiness. And actually, it is just punchier in general. The volume isn't as much. We're getting more from our drums for less. When we mix it like this, when we put it into our limiter, we're actually going to be able to get more volume from it. We have less energy as a whole, but bigger sounds. That's what we're looking for. Now let's listen to it in the mix. Just some subtle overdrive. Now take a listen without. Kind of cool. Not as much high end. Now let's look at our last most common mistake, poor source material. Can distortion fix poor source material? Well, look, distortion's a wizard, but it can't turn a frog into a prince. If your source material is trash, distortion's just gonna make it louder trash. No magic wand can save a bad recording. Garbage in, distorted garbage out. It makes such a difference to choose and record the right sounds from the start. So if you don't have that, go back and redo it. And voila, we went from something that sounded like that it was mixed in a trash can to a sound that you'd proudly blast in your car with the windows down. And all thanks to our misunderstood hero, Distortion. But don't overdo it. Throughout this video, I presented Distortion as this mythical cure for all of your song's ailments, when really it's just a tool like anything else. And like with any plugin that you use in mixing, subtlety is key. Here's what can happen when you overdo distortion: ear fatigue, loss of dynamics, clipping and digital distortion, and even muddying the mix. I know I said that it can help with a muddy mix, but too much of it and you're back to square one, sinking into a swamp of sonic sludge. So consider this a PSA. Distortion is powerful, but it's not a free-for-all. Apply it like cologne. A dab here, a dab there, and you're golden. Drench yourself in it and you'll clear out a room. To wrap things up, an amateur mix often suffers from a lack of muddy frequencies, bass problems, a lack of cohesion, and poor source material. Then we went over a Swiss Army plugin to help with those problems. You got it, our bad boy, Distortion. Whether it's adding nuance, clearing clutter, balancing levels, or widening your stereo image, Distortion is the spice that makes your audio dish delectable. But too much can ruin a mix, so tread lightly. If you found this video useful, do me a solid, hit that like button, share it with all your audio nerd friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that bell so you won't miss any of our future shenanigans here on Music by Maddie.